Brought to you by ExpressCare Health and Skin Center. Get in, get out, get better.
Hafide, and welcome back to Healthy Living. If you are just tuning in, we are talking about earwax. And joining me again is Dr. Jitka Lom from ExpressCare, who's ready to answer some of our viewers' questions. All right, Doc, now our first viewer says, I know this may sound disgusting, but why does earwax smell?
Well, that's a good question. It's because it has sebum in it. Sebum is the same stuff that you find within pimples, which also tend to not smell very nice. These are secretions from sebaceous glands. That means oil-producing glands in our skin. That oil does have an odor. There's a funny thing. People with that wet wax tend to have more odor because there's more oil. They also tend to have more body odor in their under armpits. So that wet wax goes with smelly underarms. So there's the thing. Yeah. So also there are bacteria that can get lodged in the earwax, and then it can create an odor. It's particularly if people are using their fingers and not washing their hands very well, picking at their ears, creating infection.
All right. So don't pick in your ears. Now, our next viewer is asking, does swimmer's ear have any relation to earwax or earwax buildup? But I guess first, what is swimmer's ear?
Right. Swimmer's ear is an infection of the skin of the outer ear canal. It's not like a middle ear infection where the eardrums are affected. It's just a skin infection. Typically, somebody will go to the beach or after a shower, they don't quite get all the water out of their ear. The water sits around and stagnates and gets infected, like a little puddle that's gotten infected in there. So the relationship to earwax, it's just like this. There isn't a strong one, but if you have been disrupting your ear canal, you've sort of lost that protective barrier that the earwax has. The earwax is coating everything and moving everything out so the germs don't stay in there. But if you've been picking and digging and doing all kinds of things to the ear, then it's easier for germs to get in.
Okay, so the earwax is protecting your
protective.
ear. Okay. Now, you spoke earlier about bacteria getting stuck in the ear. Now, our next viewer is asking, can bugs get stuck in earwax?
They can. And that's one of the grossest things I have to say. When you look in that ear and you see little legs, that is really one of the more unpleasant things to look at. So cockroaches and earwigs, earwig is a type of insect. Other bugs can get stuck in there. And then it's not difficult, we flush them out. We generally don't pull them out, we flush them out, and they're usually dead by then.
Okay, now just a follow-up question, because I mean, I can imagine, you know, something crawling around in your ear, but I'm assuming that has to be painful.
It is painful, and it's usually incredibly distressing to the patient. They're very, very upset when that's happening, so yeah.
I'm gonna get some earplugs and sleep with my with earplugs. Okay, so moving along, our next viewer is asking, does the color of wax indicate health issues? And we spoke about this a little bit earlier.
Yeah, it doesn't so much affect whether you're healthy or not healthy. Sometimes people with psoriasis will have more flaking in the ear canal. It'll be very dry there. The color itself, if it's coming out yellow and very smelly, then there's an infection. You can also get fungal infections in the ear canal, especially diabetic people. People who have a lower immune system can get a fungus, and then it's quite itchy also. So that's something that we test by putting a little swab in there and sending it to the lab to find out what's growing. Then we can give you the proper drops.
Okay, now the yellowish, greenish discharge from the ear, I understand that could be a recurring problem, especially for children.
It can be.
Now, can you share with us why that's something that you should take your child to the doctor for and not just let it
keep draining?
Out?
Yeah, you shouldn't. You should get it fixed. The reason is, first of all, this is an infection. Your child is uncomfortable. It's oftentimes itchy or painful. Kids don't always verbalize that. And it's affecting their hearing. When there's all that goo inside, it's as if we're walking around with an earmuff on. So they're not going to be able to learn as well. They're not going to be able to hear as well. And they can also infect other people. So if you have anything draining out of your ear, it's time to go to the doctor.
Yeah, and one last thing.
Yes.
With regards to that question, can that lead to the permanent loss of hearing?
The swimmer's ear type of drainage, typically not. The one you're thinking about is the middle ear infection, where it's past the eardrum. The infection is inside past the eardrum. And that one, when it keeps going and going and going, recurrent, it can really damage your hearing, yes.
All right. Now, our next viewer is asking, how can I properly clean my child's ears?
Yes, and this is the difficulty because kids' ears are so tiny, right? Sometimes they're really little. And even when we look inside with a light, we can't really see much. So the thing to do is to actually leave it alone as much as possible. Don't be digging in there, especially don't be sticking the Q-tip in there again. Clean the outside of your child's ear, maybe after a shower and so on, that the heat melts the wax a little bit, so it's easier to wipe the outside of it, and encourage your child not to pick at their ears. But if you're noticing maybe the child, has really a big wax buildup, or they can't hear, something like that, then you can bring them into the clinic and we'll jet out the earwax for them. You can also use those earwax melting drops that you can buy over the counter in the pharmacy, and that's another good option.
All right. Now, our next viewer is asking, what are some alternative methods of cleaning your ear? I guess if you don't want to, use the Q-tip, or I've heard of I think it's called the honeycomb.
Yes, there's ear candling and the honeycomb thing. Don't do that, okay? The candle thing is really risking burns and infections and things, because you're actually lighting a flame to try to melt the wax. You can imagine where that would go. Yeah, burns and extreme heat. We don't want that. We want gentle heat. So you could try a hot pack on there that try to gently melt the wax. The earwax melting drops, a lot of people don't know those exist. The peroxide, the bulb syringe at home. And, don't hesitate to just go in. It's not a very difficult, expensive, or painful procedure to have your ears cleaned. In India, there are street earwax removers. That's their job. They're people that are on the street corner, kind of like a barber, sitting on the corner with their little tiny instruments, and you can go and sit down and they'll pick out the earwax for you.
Wow.
But we don't have that here.
Yeah, wow, that'd be kind of interesting. Well, that's all the time we got. So if you have an issue that you would like us to share here on Healthy Living, email us at healthyliving